in this tutorial, I'm going to cover up the virtual hard disk of Hyper-V. So, like virtual network, we used to have three types of virtual hard disk in Hyper-V, and it's similar to virtual network. Now, virtual hard disk is very important part of virtual machines because storage where you need your operating system to work on. Remember one thing, that this is virtual hard disk and means created virtually, and uh, it has nothing to do with physical drive. Yes, it took your space, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't force you to consume many. It means you will save some space. Now, when you create new and goes to virtual hard disk, you got the option new hard disk. Now let me expand these options. Now before you begin, you have a lot many things to read on, learn about them more about virtual hard disk. The extension of the virtual hard disk is .VHD. You may encounter .VHD a lot many times in the past. So .VHD is the virtual hard disk, the extension of. Now these are the extension, kind of a file type of thing. A file is there, and you need to you need to store the operating system up in the virtual hard disk. Now, like virtual network, you have three kind of disk types: is fixed size, dynamically expanding, and differentiating. Now, fixed size means that you fix the size. Means if you allocate 10 GB, then that 10 GB space will be allocated from your hard disk, and that 10 GB will block. Either you modify space, whatever, 10 GB is blocked. Dynamically expanding means once you create some dynamic hard disk, virtual hard disk, then the storage size will start probably 70 MB or even 64 KB. Means once you create, but time after time, if you allocate that dynamic disk up to 10 GB, then time after time that space will expand. According to expert, your virtual operating system should not be stored in dynamically expanding disk because it expands the size and sometimes might create problem if you are using only C drive for every operation. Means you're heavily using a C drive for virtual machines as well as physical operating system too. Now differencing is kind of different than this dynamically and fixed size. Differencing is also a type of dynamic disk, but you require parent disk too, parent virtual hard disk too. And if I go with the diagram, now this is what the dynamic disk is all about. I mean, the partition is created. For example, the partition is 500 GB, and in the partition, if I created some dynamic size, for example 10 GB, 20 GB, it keeps on increasing. For example, the start will be some 64 KB, but after when we create, we're going to see learn about that size allocation. It will increase after we expand data, after we expand operating system. The size will keeps on increasing and increasing, so it up to the size you allocate. In fix, the entire disk will be fixed. For example, if you allocate 10 GB, then we will fix. Either you add files, remove files, doesn't matter. 10 GB means 10 GB. But in dynamically, it will start with 64 KB, then 10 GB, and it will expand up to the size you allocate. So it didn't give you a direct 10 GB allocation. Differencing, again, as I said, that is a kind of dynamic disk, but it's like parent-child relationship. You need a parent hard disk to have a child hard disk to work on, and that's differencing is all about. We will cover up differencing in a manner, really, because that's very important things to learn, because you requires a separate hard disk, but that separate hard disk will be concentrated, will be attached with the parent hard disk, the parent virtual hard disk, and you will find out the space differencing disk will be looking at. We will going to save some space. We're not going to consume that. Uh, if I check out the differencing disk, if we consider the theory, for example, this base hard disk is 500 GB. If you're going to create a separate space of Cisco VPN, Nokia VPN, or Astro VPN, then that the entire space will be concentrated on the parent disk. That differentiating disk is a separate entity. That different disk is a separate disk, but its root starts from parent disk. You requires means you can't void parent disk. It will have to be attached. So the differentiating disk is a separate disk. It is a separate disk, but it has to be, it need a parent disk too. It need a concentration of parent disk. Now, next, I'm just going to create a new virtual hard disk. I'm going to create a fixed disk. Let me name that fixed disk. For example, give fixed disk. So let me create one after one so that it will give you a clear picture of the virtual hard disk offers Hyper-V. Let me name that. For example, now this is the folder we're going to select, and we're going to actually store this disk in this folder. Select the folder and next. Now the space, for example, since it's a fixed disk, we have to rethink about the space. So I'm just taking 10 GB because my actual hard disk don't have enough of space. I'm just go with next, 10 GB, next, and finish. So this is going to create. Okay. Now you can see the space, size, and fixed disk. Use properties, and you can find that the size is 10 GB. It allocates 10 GB, and it's exact 10 GB. So this is what the fixed disk is all about. If you're allocating 500 GB, then we would take 500 GB. And that's the reason out of 39 GB, the 20 GB is now allocated. But once you create a dynamic disk, for example, create a new hard disk, dynamically expanding, then you find that slight difference. Now next, let me change the name, dynamic disk, and let me change the folder name, the storage, we're going to dynamic disk, select the folder, next. Now space, as usual, we're going to take 10 GB, finish, okay. Now it's created, goes to computer. Now you can see dynamic disk and goes to properties and find that size is some 22 KB, and that's the say size on this 24 KB. So this is for dynamic disk, and it have a limitation. Till 10 GB it will expand, and in the fixed disk the size is fixed 10 GB, but dynamic disk start at 24 KB, 22 KB, and it will expand till 10 GB. So this is what dynamic disk is all about. But as I said, expert uh, ask you to have fixed disk for virtual machine installations, because what happens that once you do a dynamically thing, you may have create problem. Now, creating differencing disk, let me have a differencing disk too. uh, so dynamic expanding, don't install virtual machine on dynamic disk, otherwise you will mess up with the space. Now, for example, the folder name I'm going to give is dev disk, select folder, next, and location. Now, this it asks me configure disk. This is a dynamic differencing disk asking me to provide the location of parent disk. Now, SD drive, because we just have a separate parent disk in a separate path. WS2008.VHD is a parent disk of the operating system. Go with next and finish. So what differencing disk asks? It asks me to provide the parent disk path. Now I'm going to computer, and the spacing and everything, the allocation will be same. You can see 268 KB to 268 KB, and it also asked me to provide the space, or to provide the address of the parent hard disk, and you can see the parent hard disk size is some 7.60 GB, and fixed is 10 GB and whatever. Now, the differencing disk is quite a different theory, but it behaves like dynamic, but it is a difference, a bit of difference. We will do about some practicals on differencing disk. Dynamic disk and fixed disk, the theory is very much same, but differencing disk is a slight difference than the dynamic disk. We will learn about that, and because we require parenting disk and the differencing disk, that's the reason the theory will change. But hope you learned something about the types of hard disk Hyper-V offers. Thanks for watching.